Welcome everybody to the Scale Up Show. This is your host Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. Again, I got Tyler Barron back with me for part two. He is the CRO of Encapture, which is an AI machine learning platform specifically for financial institutions or fintech. Tyler, welcome. Happy to have you back on part two, man.
Yeah, Ryan, thanks for having me again. Looking forward to getting into it here.
Yeah, dude, was loving cutting it up. So if you missed episode one, go back and listen. Tyler gives his origin story about how he got integrated into product with an AI company that wasn't an AI product company to start with. It was more of a professional services bespoke company. So that was really cool. We also talked about how to put the ROI into AI or AI and ROI, whatever. You get what I'm talking about, right? So today we're going to get more into like use cases because I love to nerd out. I had Brendan Cam, who is the CEO of Thanks, talking about use cases on the last episode. I'm like, you know what? I got to start like really putting this in here because it's a lot of fun, man. So talk to me. Let's talk about you first as the CRO of the organization. Like, what's your favorite use cases that you leverage ChatGPT for? And is even ChatGPT your tool of choice, or do you have like Gemini or Claude or something else that you leverage primarily?
So, I mean, I don't even really think we're probably getting into specific flavors. But what I will say is what we primarily are getting value out of AI tools right now is for strategic research.
Okay.
So, we have higher ACV deals, longer sales cycles, and we're also trying to prospect up really high up to the C-suite. And in order to prospect meaningfully and have good content and good pieces, it takes a ton of research. And it's kind of like counterintuitive. It's like you got pretty expensive AEs that are, enterprise AEs, and really what they're spending a bunch of time on is researching, not working a deal to close, but you have to have it to earn the right to have those conversations. So, one thing I'm seeing them do a lot is basically go to a prospect's website and start looking through financial information, downloading 10Ks, 10Qs, financial presentations, earning calls, throwing that into like a chat GPT, and basically getting them to summarize all that data, right? So you're not having to flip through a 50 page, 10K or having to list an hour long earnings call. And then once we have all that data, what they'll do is they'll start querying that information for things that match our problem statement, right? So how ultimately can we start to query information around things that they have laid out as either problems, issues, most of these these 10Ks have a whole area around potential risk. So, how do you tie it to that? And then ultimately start tying the solution, our solutions and our products, back to strategic initiatives. So, somebody that's actually at the board level can say, oh, hey, I can actually see how these two things fit together. So I would say that's how probably the way that we're getting the most efficient. One of those deals to where like you really want to dig in and learn those customers and be prepared, can ultimately earn that respect and earn that right. But man, it just takes a long time. And how do you do that at scale? And how do you do that in a cost efficient way? I feel like, that's where, tools like ChatGPT could make us and have made us highly more efficient. The other thing too, like kind of on the other end of the spectrum, on the other end of the sales process is, man, these massive, vendor questionnaires, RFP, RFQs, things like that, to where, we have a library of answers on these things. We have basically the same answers to all these questions every time. We sell within the same market, so literally the 300 questions that a big bank sends us is going to be 99% similar to the next one. And so, we have had the ability to basically, work with an AI partner on that, where we just kept providing samples of how we responded to this stuff. And ultimately now they can help automate the majority of that process. And then if they need additional information, want to have a phone call about it or whatever, we're there. But it was kind of weird. Like a couple of years ago, as we started to scale and grow a lot, and started getting into more of these, I looked up and I was like, dude, like this is turning into somebody's full-time job.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
this is insane.
Well, there's like deal
And
desks that companies have, like RFP desks, and like that job sucked, right? Like to
mhm,
go through an RFP and spend like 300 hours as collectively as a team, like answering all these, making sure it was true. I mean, dude, it was a
yeah.
nightmare. I remember that for like these big companies.
And all of our RFP, RFQ situations are all like they're just doing it to check a box in the check a box in the
Yeah.
process. Like we're never in such like we very much have a strategic selling motion to where like we're not ever going to reactively respond to an RFQ or RFP for an AI solution like Encapture one because they don't know that this problem can be solved the way that we solve it primarily. And so nobody's like putting an RFP, RFQ out for it. But you do get in a lot of these situations to where like, hey, we're a big bank. This is the way our PMO office does things. I know we've been talking to you for 6 months, but like, look, like we got to go ahead and send out this, this RFQ for you. Y'all fill it out. It's between you and one other person. We've got to go look at least one other competitors as part of
Yeah.
proving that we did due diligence. But it just feels like you're just doing paperwork, right?
Yeah.
And it's it's a great place to automate stuff.
Totally, man. I agree. I love that use case. First one, I think that's usually where I'll start clients because like you could, I mean, most people won't take the time to learn AI unless AI makes room for the time, right? So like
Hmm.
that's like a easy case. Takes 40 minutes to do the right way. Most reps do it half-ass, so they take 20 minutes to do that. You could leverage it. You could put in one prompt and get the bulk of that in like 30 seconds if you know how to do it the right way, right? So like that'll free up with an enterprise team. That'd be up, 3-4 hours a week right there, just on that one step alone. To
One
take it
hundred
one step
percent.
further though, man, like one of the things that I've seen work really well with on the prospecting side, or that I've been like totally attached to lately, is one-to-one creative prospecting for like big named accounts. Because like
Yeah.
most people are just like, oh, I'm just gonna use this for like writing emails and stuff like that, which is like basically having a Ferrari to drive down the street with, like, and that's all you
Hmm.
use it for, right? Like, in my opinion. So like an example, like some great examples that we've started on Earth with some companies I'm working for that have high TCVs are like, you could curate a list. So let's say I'm targeting you. Say I'm targeting Tyler Barron. I could pull you up and basically curate a list of like all the conferences you spoke at, all the podcasts you've been on, and then have actual quotes from you and your point of view on what you say. And then within that same thread, literally, like, I don't know, maybe taking a minute, I could have that translated into a prospecting email that's hyper customized using your language, prospecting to you with quotes you actually said in a talk like, 2 months ago. Right. And so
That'd be
like that's
huge.
the
Yeah.
example, you know?
Yeah. 100%. And to your point, that would fit our deal flow extremely well. And that would actually kind of ultimately translate it to more of a sequence, a prospecting sequence is
Yeah.
what we would need, as opposed to like, hey, look, like we've kind of done some good research. Now we'd just have a couple little twists and tweaks to our sequence. It's like, no, like this is highly, highly customized the whole entire journey. Um, Now that's a great one. You know, a, another one going to, and like this is like, yeah, everybody does this, but I think we use this a little differently, and I don't know if anybody else is out there doing this, but like obviously like tools like Gong or Outreach's version like Kaya, like really great at analyzing calls and call coaching and all that stuff and looking at different sentiment and us versus them talk track, which is 100% awesome, and the ability to just dive right into a call and not have to listen to like the full hour and
Mm.
somebody talk about a bunch of silly rapport for 15 minutes is really great, and I think all sales leaders like really like the efficiency of that. But one thing that we've done as a company is we've actually used that to have what we call game film Fridays. So what we do is, especially if we're trying to kind of learn a new market and like have like a new product that we're really trying to push and like trying to
Mhm.
kind of understand it better, we'll do Game Film Fridays to where an AE will basically walk the company through like a customer call around like a, new initiative, new product that we're trying to kind of figure out. And they're able to like kind of serve it up really, really tight and simple because, you know, sales teams, tolerance to kind of listen to a whole sales call because they kind of can really listen to the sentiment and like, oh, how they going to handle that objection. Other folks are just like, hey, can we just like get to the point? Like, I want to hear them explain the problem part. And so I feel like said differently, like I think one of the biggest things that I've learned about kind of the scale up stage is that you can't outrun your supply line as a revenue leader, right? And so you really got to bring everybody along with you at the company and say, hey, look, like this is firsthand is what the market's saying about this problem. Here's how we can keep solving it and really bring everybody in on that journey. And that's not just one specific person's job. You know what I mean? And I love how our teams, been able to, I guess, to kind of bring that full circle. Like, if I were to ask them to go do that every Friday, like go ask the sales rep, like they'd be like, dude, I do not want to sit there and like fast forward the bar and like, you know, give color commentary on this call to whereas like, we use Kai, we used to use Gong, kind of same stuff to where it's just like boom, 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 boom. Here's the part y'all need to know. This was a 20-minute meeting. Everybody go enjoy their lunch, you know?
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
that's true, man. That could be, well, here's the thing, and I love what you're doing with that because like, so here's an example that's similar but different in terms of more of a collaboration. And so I'm seeing some big benefits of this with companies I'm working with. So there's a Series C company that I'm working with. They're P backed as well, and one of the things that they were able to do is we were rolling this out not just to sales but to marketing, and it was kind of
Hmm.
interesting for me or kind of weird because I'm like, oh shit, like these people are gonna smoke me, whatever, like because they're hardcore marketers, right? That's all they've done, and I'm like, but here's the cool thing. We started, I think a big part of it is getting people in the same room and like actively working on it together. And so the beautiful thing that happened is marketing wanted to generate a campaign specific for the Olympics, right? And this was something
Hmm.
they just came up with. And they're like, we basically had like an ideation thread in ChatGPT that we shared in our own department. That would have taken like a couple weeks to like in multiple sessions to get it, but we all riffed off the same one. And then they figured it out. Then they created like structure for it in there. They handed off the product implemented it into the product, and they got it up and running. They're like, that would have taken us 3 months to do. And it's so basically saved us 3 months of time, got a project done that wouldn't have been done prior. And it hit like a mission critical time stone, like timeline, I should say, that they didn't have. So like I think the
Yeah.
collaboration element you're talking about is beautiful because that's like one of the things that most people don't talk about. You know what I mean?
Well, so it actually, so, why people really don't want to do like true, like named account type ABM is that it's super freaking hard to scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like whenever you're talking about mid and late funnel support, not like, hey, we're just going to, prospect and nurture these named accounts and then hand them over to sales and then they're going to sprint them. I mean, like whenever you're working a larger enterprise deal and you need to partner with marketing on continuing to create content and figure out ways to retarget them, like the ability to say, hey, look, here's the bullet points of a custom piece of content that I want to create, that actually speaks directly to their business case. And they're able to basically put that into all the design areas and everything like that and say, boom, just like that, as opposed to somebody having to generate that stuff one off. It actually addresses a major scalability issue. And I think that's one reason why, because in my opinion, I feel like the majority of the marketers I've worked with genuinely want to help sales,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
they 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 get it from a pipeline ownership standpoint, but then you get into like more of like the how do we support you with deal acceleration. They're almost like, that kind of sounds more like a sales enablement thing because like because they struggle with doing it at scale because resource limitations and things like that. And so I do think there's a major opportunity, um, to use like a lot more custom ABM stuff at scale, and ultimately have a high impact on deal conversion, deal velocity, things like that.
That's a good point, man. That's a really good point. And that's where I think a lot of opportunities get unlocked too. So I think you nailed it. What about on the data side? Do you leverage it for data at all or no? Like leveraging your data, putting it through the AI tool at all or no?
No, I mean, outside of just kind of all the different intent stuff, with our data enrichment that comes with Zoom. So we try to hunt for patterns a lot of times, and ultimately find deals that we find would be faster and more scalable, based on the pattern that we want. So typically, how big are they? Are they like the technographic information behind it? Like, do they fit pattern XYZ? Because we just know we can speak more, just more fluently to their pain. And also we know it's going to be a faster implementation. So kind of combining all those different data points, and creating like deal scoring around that is really kind of the only thing that we're doing. I'll tell you the thing that I really, really want to figure out, is a way to basically score med pick, based on the criteria that you set up of how strong your ROI is, how high up your champion is, based on look at all your patterns of like, the 50 deals you did last year, and then like kind of forward map those compared to the ones in the future. I'm sure somebody out there does this. But that would be really, really slick to where, we've kind of manually done that. In fact, one of my AEs did a great presentation at our sales kickoff this year where they're like, went back, looked at all our deals last year, and they're like, here's high up our champions are. Like, here's our win percentage whenever our champion is a C-suite. Here's the typical minimum ROI. You know what I mean? And like kind of had win percentage broken out by each, letter of med pick. And so mining that data on all your, historic successes, and then kind of mapping that forward on your pipeline, and being like, hey, look, like, you're grading out at like a C minus on your ROI because you're less than 2x. We
Mm.
convert 50% higher if your ROI is 3x. Or, hey, you said your economic buyer is the COO. On 97% of deals last year, it had to go to the CFO. Or, hey, your decision process says nothing about a committee. 90% of your deals last year had to go to a committee. What's up?
That's good, man.
That would be slick. Yeah.
I bet, dude, I think you could do it. I'm pretty confident
Yeah.
you could do it because I've done stuff like that with data, but in a different way. Like, so you're talking more at like the individual, like deal scoring level, which is good. I've done that more like from the customer ICP level, but broken it down across ACV, TCV, time to close, industries, verticals, funding, ownership, like all that stuff. So you could definitely do it. I'm
Yeah.
convinced.
100%.
So we
Yeah.
might play that.
Yeah. And I think the other one's valuable too, because it's like, okay, we'll pick the winners from the get go, and kind of figure out what your white space around, like what the winners are. Right. And then, but, I don't know, just the old sales dog in me just loves like doing a deep dive on just like deal health. You know what I mean?
That's how I survive, right? So we worked.
Yeah.
I was like in the old role of like the founder's like, all right, cool. Your number went up 20% this year, like every year, and you can't hire anybody. And I'm like, okay, cool. So we doubled our deal size every year from that strategy. And so basically what we did is we segmented and looked at our total wins from the last year, and our biggest wins, our biggest losses, our fastest wins, our slowest losses, right? Cut that up, looked at the top 20% of customers, and basically factored and created almost like a separate ICP from
Mm-hmm.
that customer, and then got laser focused on that targeting. And it literally every year doubled our deal size and 100x our largest deal just from that alone. Like,
Yeah.
so it works. Vista Equity uses it too, actually, to convert companies from a bill to 3 bill in like 3 years. So
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Well, it's like how do you make it go faster? Well, go focus on the ones that actually want to go fast. And like and what is the formula of a fast deal? And getting in there, and then you're like, okay, well these 6 components. Okay, well it's a deep market, right? There's
Yeah.
there's tons of them out there. It's just kind of figuring out a way to bubble up and prioritize those winners, because if not, you're always going to deal with the subjectivity of everybody's like, oh, well, I like this one. I feel like there's a lot of opportunity there. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, like
That's good though, man. I love that. So I could talk about this sales nerdery and AI nerdery all day, but we are up on time, man. So unfortunately, right? So where can people find you? Where can they find out more about you and Encapture? And then we'll wrap things up, man.
Yeah, y'all can hit me up on LinkedIn, or feel free to check out Encapture. It's just encapture.com. But Ryan, really appreciate today. Yeah, this was fun. Love nerding out on all this stuff with you. Um, Definitely appreciate it.
Me too, man. It was awesome having you on, Tyler, and I will see you on the next episode.